Hey everybody, it's Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. We are back live where I'll be answering some questions, but I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, a boutique immigration law firm here in sunny South Florida. But as y'all know, we work with clients all over the country and internationally as well. So I haven't been on in a while. I've actually been on the road traveling and then I got sick again. So I'm on the mend, but now that I'm on the mend, I wanted to come back and talk a little bit about holiday travel, as well as answer some questions that y'all have. So we've got some tips, or I've got some tips for you about holiday travel, y'all. Holiday travel is coming up. If you are not a U.S. citizen and you are traveling for the holidays, and the holidays really kind of last like till the middle of January for some of us. Here are just some things that I wanted y'all to keep in mind. Customs and Border Protection, those are the folks that you see when you're in the airport. They no longer give you a white card in your passport. So it's all completely electronic. So if you want your I-94 card, you've got to go online. And if you just Google I-94 card, that website will come up, and you'll be able to see, how you were stamped in. So it's super important. Every single time you come back into the country, you want to be pulling your I-94 card down from online, printing it out, saving it, and making sure that you have been admitted properly, that you have been admitted in the right status, that you've been admitted for the proper length of time. I talk with people. It happens often enough, but I want to talk to you about it, where CBP has made a mistake, and mistakes happen, y'all. Like, they absolutely happen. The folks, the Customs and Border officers are absolutely human. They make mistakes. So, but you want to make sure that you're stamped in the right status. So I've had folks say, hey, I'm ready to, extend my stay or what have you. And it turns out that they're in visitor status when they shouldn't be, when they should be in a work authorized status. So not only are they, we've got to fix that first. So make sure that when you come in that you are, that you have been admitted in the correct status. The other thing about the day that you are admitted until, CBP will admit you to the expiration date of your passport. So if your passport is expiring before your approval notice expires, or before your visa expires, CBP will admit you only until the end of your passport. So again, before you travel, either into the United States or out of the United States, check your passport expiration dates. That is super, super important, because you want to make sure that you've got enough time on your passport so that they let you back into the country, and that, so that you don't have any problems. You also want to make sure that you're checking this, because I have had clients in the past where usually one member of the family tends to travel a little bit more. And so that person may be more on top of their passport expiration dates than the rest of the family. If that is the case and y'all are about to travel and members of your family, their passports are expiring before yours, maybe you extended your passport, you didn't think to extend theirs, or they have more time. But you want to make sure that the entire family has the ability to travel in and out together, and get stamped at the same time. So keep that in mind. You also, just make sure that you check when your passports are expiring. You also want to know when your passport is expiring so that you make sure you get it renewed in time to be able to travel. I have definitely spoken with people who have said, oh my God, what do I do? My passport expires in, 4 days. I'm supposed to travel in 5 days. And it's kind of a tough conversation when they can't get that passport renewed. So keep that in mind. And this one sounds a little silly, but I've had this happen as well. You want to make sure that your passport and your visa are valid before you head to the passport. Make sure they haven't expired. That will cause you some issues when you are trying to get back in. And double check that you have your travel documents with you. The holidays are such a hectic time for some people that they accidentally put their travel documents in luggage that they plan on checking. And so just make sure that you have, what I do is I have one pocket in my bag that only ever has my travel documents in it. It doesn't have anything else in it. So it's kind of muscle memory. I go to that bag when I have to, go through TSA or whatever, or, I have to show documentation. So just keep that in mind. Okay. And for everyone out there, make sure that you have an electronic copy of all of your immigration related documents, whether that's biographic page of passport, copies of all of the pages of your passport, even if they are blank, so that it captures, all the visas, all the entry and exit stamps, your green card front and back if you have a green card, your approval notices front and back if you have approval notices, your most recent I-94 card. Make sure that you have copies of that so that you can access them electronically. Heaven forbid your bag gets stolen, your passport gets stolen, something gets stolen, and you now have to prove to an officer at the U.S. Consulate that you have, that you are who you say you are. So you want to make sure that your documents are, copied, and you want to make sure that somebody back at home also has access to these documents while you're traveling. I have definitely had that scenario where I had to have a family member who had access to my stuff, help me out and give me, the numbers or whatever, like passport number, all that good stuff. So just keep that in mind. So I wanted to give you all those travel tips if you are traveling this holiday season. So just keep that in mind. And be safe when you travel. So let me see if y'all have any questions for me. I'm happy to answer them. Let me see here. Let's see here. Is it safe to travel on your green card without your spouse? Why would it not be? I mean, if you have a green card, why are you concerned about traveling without your spouse? If you have a green card and it's in your name, that's your green card, it was lawfully obtained, you do not have to travel with your spouse. So that is fine. And just a reminder, y'all, I am Carol Williams with Williams Immigration. I am a lawyer. I've been practicing immigration law for 25 years. I used to be an adjudications officer for policy within USCIS up at headquarters. Now I work out of South Florida, where I work with clients nationally and internationally. So we work with families. We also work with businesses. On the business side, it's usually going to be a business that is looking to hire someone that's not a U.S. citizen. So we make sure that they get the right green card. We are the right work authorization. That company can then also sponsor them for a green card. So we do that with them as well and guide them through that process. And on the family side, it's usually going to be a U.S. citizen that we work with. And that U.S. citizen is looking to sponsor a spouse, a fiance, a dependent child, or an aging parent for their green cards. And remember, a dependent child for immigration purposes is under 21 and unmarried. So if you are 20 and yet you are married, you are no longer considered a dependent on your, and can then derive the benefit of being on your parent's application. So just keep that in mind. Let's see here. Next question. Do you have to wait 3 weeks for a receipt when you file online for an extension of work permit? It depends on, it depends on if they are mailing you a receipt. If they mail it, usually I tell people it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks. Although I certainly just emailed CIS today and was asking them about one of my clients' approval notices that we don't have. So it can take up to 3 weeks to get a receipt notice. Waiting on dictation and I-751, all steps approved. Is that a good notice? Waiting on decision maybe, and I-751, all steps approved. I don't understand your question. If all the steps, do you mean if you've gone through all the steps and you're just waiting, then you just have to wait. I'm not quite sure what you're asking. My husband's I-130 was on review and now it says 3 months. What does that mean? It means it's going to take longer than they originally thought. It could mean that maybe they uploaded the incorrect status update. It means that ultimately it means that you're going to have to continue to wait a little bit longer for that I-130 to for them to finish adjudicating that I-130. Does my practice help with waiving the 2-year residency requirement? We absolutely do. That is something that we do. And for those of you that aren't clear what a 2-year residency requirement is, individuals that come over in J1 status, that is a training visa, sometimes they are required to go back home for 2 years in order to share their knowledge that they have learned in the United States. If you do not go home for 2 years and share that knowledge, you are prevented from changing to most other non-immigrant statuses here in the United States, and you are prevented from adjusting your status to that of a green card holder. So yes, that is something that we help with. And there are circumstances where the home government will waive your requirement to come home. So once we get the home government okay, then we send that okay then gets sent to the U.S. government. Then we let the U.S. government know, hey, we've got that. And so, yep, that is something my firm helps with. I'm married to a U.S. citizen in 2016. I got permanent resident, I-751. So you got conditional permanent resident. So it looks like I-751 on 2017 and I divorced in 2019. Can I apply for an N400? So if you're applying for an N400, you have to wait 5 years from the day you became a permanent resident, whether it's a conditional permanent resident or a permanent resident. So you have to wait 5 years if you're not married to a U.S. citizen at the time of application, or if you are married to a U.S. citizen at the time of application, then you only have to wait 3 years. So that is the rule. Next up, I didn't do my medical when filing. Is it possible that I can send it without a request form? Yes, it's possible. It's not something I typically do in my practice because it is very difficult to have, it's very difficult for the Immigration Service to get a piece of paper in the door that they have not requested. So you're not sending it with their own cover letter. You're not sending it with the request for, with their own RFE paperwork that has your receipt notice on it, or a barcode that they can scan so that they can quickly see where it is in the building. So can you send it in without them having requested it? Yes. Do you run the risk of them not putting it in your file and requesting it anyway? Yes. So it's completely up to you. That is completely up to you. But like I said, unless there are some extenuating circumstances, I generally counsel my clients against doing that. But it's totally up to you. Hey, Allie, it has been a while. I was traveling for a little bit, and then I got sick again. So, but I'm back. Hey, Bianca, it's good to see you. Someone says I've left my husband because of verbal abuse. I have videos. I am sorry, genuinely sorry to hear about abuse. That is never a good thing. Let me see here. Hold on one second. Tell the USCIS officer my wife was trying to abuse me and my case was denied. How may I proceed? It depends on what kind of case you have. It depends on how your case was originally filed. So I have more questions than I have sort of thoughts and answers. So I would click the link in the bio. We can do a consultation, and we can talk about your specific situation during that consultation. Let's see here. Allie says, I was telling you in my interview. So Allie, what happened in your interview? Congratulations, Allie. That's fantastic news. I'm so glad you came back on and told me that. That is awesome. So y'all, Allie is not my client. I have never met her in person. But we like to celebrate wins over here, even if it is a win that my firm has zero to do with. So Allie has been coming to my lives for a while now, and she had her naturalization interview in November and got naturalized the same day. So that is awesome. So congratulations. I am super, super excited for you. It's awesome. So Sharika, I hope I pronounced that right. Sharika says, if I get married and I got my 2-year green card and I want a divorce, what do you suggest? I suggest we have a conversation about that to see what's happening, where you are with having your 2-year green card, what the facts are. So that really, and I know people hate this answer, but it really depends on your very specific situation as to what I think the best way to move forward would be. If you have your green card in general and you need to remove the conditions, you can, if you are married, you would file with your spouse. If you are not married, we need to have a divorce decree. You can file just separately, just based on the fact that you're divorced. You can file separately based on hardship. So there are certain waivers that we can apply for. It just depends on which one you meet, which one you would qualify for. So that's why I say we'd really have to sit down, have a consultation, and have that discussion to see where you are in your own individual case. If you want to book a consultation, how do the fees work? You can go to the link in my bio, and that is all explained there under the consultation link. And then we have a conversation about what's happening in your case, in your life, and how we can help. Allie, I'm super happy you had a good experience with your officer and that you got natsed and sworn in the same day. That does not always happen. There's usually a lag time. So for a naturalization interview, you go in, you get interviewed. Part of the interview is a U.S. civics test. I tell people to think of it as history, U.S. history. And then there is English. There's an English test, reading, writing, and written. And then usually what happens is the officer will say, if they are going to recommend you for approval, they tell you that. And then they tell you that they will mail you a notice of when you get sworn in. And then that notice can come 2 weeks later or 2 months later. Just kind of depends on the workload of that office. In some cases, though, you can get sworn in on the same day. And if that works for you, then you can absolutely take that option, or you can tell them, whoa, I wasn't expecting it today. Like, I'd like my family to be here, because for naturalization ceremonies, your family members, limited number of your family members can come and see you get sworn in and celebrate with you, which is usually why they don't do them the same day. There's also paperwork, and they have to prepare your certificate. So there's stuff that they have to do on the back end. I'm guessing there was a little bit of time for you, Allie, in between the end of your interview and when on that same day when you got natsed in, they had to have enough time to, print up your certificate and do that and add you to the name, add you to the list and all that. So, but yeah, that's kind of awesome. Let's see here. I went for my citizenship, but my I-750 was in process and they requested for my old marriage divorce. Is that just what they would need? If that's all they ask for, then yes, at this point that's all they need. Honestly, y'all, when the government wants something, like, they'll ask for it or they'll go out and get it, right? So don't try to beat yourselves up thinking that they want more than they do. Oftentimes they really just want what they've asked for. These officers are super busy. So if they don't need it, like if they can, if they can adjudicate your case without all this extra stuff, all these extra documents, then keep those. And when they ask for them, hand them over. If they don't ask for them, take the approval and keep it rolling. Awaiting a marriage-based green card. Okay, collected social security number and EAD early. How long for the interview? I have no idea. Which is an answer that I know you don't want to hear. I know that you don't want to hear that out of me. Nobody ever wants to hear that out of their lawyer. But here's the deal with how long is it going to take to get the interview? How long is my case taking? My answer will more likely than not be I don't know. How long it takes for your interview depends on where your case is filed, whether you're waiting at a consulate, whether you're waiting at a local office in the United States, what else has happened in your case to date. But a lot of the processing time depends on what kind of case you filed and what office is currently adjudicating your case. Different offices operate at very different speeds based on the number of files that they have in the office. So I have no idea how long it will take you to get an interview. If you haven't taken your biometrics, they may want your biometrics. They may not want your biometrics if they feel like the set that they have is good and they don't need anything and they've run your biometrics and they're fine. Like the interview is honestly, it's going to take however long it's going to take, which again, I know is not the answer that anybody ever wants to hear from me. But if y'all have been coming to my lives, then I just say it like it is. Let's see here. I moved out in April, got my green card in August, got your 10-year green card in August. If I file divorce going to, I don't know what AFFE is. However, that said, so I don't fully understand your question. But if you have a 10-year green card, you are a permanent resident. You do not have to, the conditions don't have to be removed. It's a 10-year green card. You can move out. Your spouse has nothing to do with your green card status. So I'm not quite sure if that's what you're worried about. But if you already have your 10-year green card, then your spouse has zero to do with your immigration status at this point. Let's see here. Can someone who spent a year in the U.S. still apply for a green card? If they have spent a year in the U.S. without status, they can apply for a green card, but they're not going to be able to adjust in the U.S. They're going to have to go home and process that green card at a U.S. consulate overseas and file a waiver of their time out of status. If that person has been in status in the United States that whole time and they're in status when they file, then yes, in general, that person can file for their green card in the US. But there are a lot of factors that go into that. That is super broad and super general. Big Dog has asked, how do we check processing times? I think I'm going to do a separate video on how to check processing times, but in general, so keep a lookout for that. I need to, hold on. I'm going to write myself a note real quick because I get, y'all always ask me processing times. So hold on one second. Let me write myself a little note here. Processing times. Okay. So in general, here's how you check your processing times. You go to USCIS. Actually, I'm going to do it right now so I can kind of walk you through it. So you go to USCIS.gov, get their homepage or whatever. Then you're going to scroll down. I don't know, not even midway through, but you're going to scroll down on the, fun fact, I don't know if my left or my right. So you're going to scroll on the right-hand side. You'll see a tab, you'll see a box, and it says manage your case. You're going to scroll down there. If you want to check what's going on with your specific case, you're going to hit check your case status. And then you're going to enter your receipt number, and then you're going to click check status, and the system will give you the most recent info on your status. Or you can check go again back to the homepage, not even a third of the way down, then you'll do check processing times. Of course, my system wants to run a little bit slowly, but you'll check processing times. Then it will give you several drop-down menus, and that's where you can find. You'll choose the name of the form that you filed. Based on that form, then you'll get a form category, because some forms are used for more than one visa category. Then you'll check the field office or service center where your case is being processed. Then you'll hit get processing time, and that will give you the current processing times for roughly 80% of the cases in that same category at that same USCIS office. So that is how you check your processing times online. But I'm going to do a video on it with a screen share so that y'all can actually see it. But that is how you do it. So I hope that's helpful. Let me see here. Filed in May, still waiting on my EAD. Depends on what kind of EAD. My case was not outside the processing time, technically, of what I was trying to do. And so it wouldn't even let me click submit, which I did not quite appreciate, but I found another way to get an answer to my question from the Immigration Service, so that was fine. But yeah, so you can, I don't know what kind of EAD card you have, what kind of EAD card you applied for, but you can certainly check the processing times, see if you are, see if you're outside of processing times. If you are, send them a quick note online, and they really do actually get back to you. Now, sometimes the response I find sometimes not so helpful for what I'm trying to do, but they do get back to you. And that is a place to certainly begin. I went for my citizenship in I-750, but they requested my old divorce. Is that just it? I don't know what you mean. Is that just it? Like, if that's all they're asking for, if they're only asking for your old divorce paperwork, then yes, that's probably that's all they're asking for. Again, like I can't guess what the Immigration Service is asking you for. Like, they will absolutely tell you what they're asking for. What else? So you're saying they're only asking, okay, so if the immigration officer couldn't find if they're asking for your old divorce decree and they're saying they couldn't find it in the file, I'm sure it sounds like you got an RFE. Just send them a copy of it. Like, if that's all they're asking for, then just send it to them. Like, it's not like, I imagine if that's the only thing they're asking for, that's the only thing they want. It's probably the only thing standing in the way of them making a decision. Now, I don't know if that decision is going to be positive or negative, but it's probably the only thing standing in the way of them making a decision. And yeah, honestly, truly, 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 if the Immigration Service is only asking for one thing, send them that one thing. I don't send them all the things when they're only asking for one thing. If they're asking for two things, guess what? I send them those two things and I keep it rolling. These officers work so hard every single day on a tremendous caseload. They are not in the business of asking for documents that they do not need in order to process your case. I promise you that. They are so busy. So, all right, y'all. I don't see any more questions. Hold on. Let me see here. We are live currently on the Facebook page, the YouTube channel, Instagram, and TikTok. And don't see any more questions. So those of you that have gone live with me before, if I don't see any more questions, I usually go live at night. So if I don't see any more questions, I'm going to go make my dinner. And that is that. Inevitably, when I say that, someone's like, oh, wait, I have a question. And here we go. 2 more questions. Truly, y'all. It is like, y'all are like a flight. It's very funny. I say I'm going to make my dinner and you're like, wait. So I'm going to answer a couple more questions. Big Dog, you're very welcome. Hopefully that was helpful. Look out for a video. I'll be dropping that soon. It'll just teach y'all how to go online and check your own status updates and your own processing times. Let me see here. So we've got a couple more questions. We're going to handle those. And then, y'all, I really am going to pop off and go get some dinner, some more water, and some rest. Let's see here. Our K1 was approved. NVC says the embassy for my fiance isn't processing the K1. What to do? What did the NVC say to do? Is my question for you. Did they tell you to do something? You just don't want to do it. You just don't like it. It just doesn't make sense. What did they tell you to do? And why isn't the embassy processing K1s? So I have more questions than I have answers. I have absolutely more questions than I have answers for you at this point. There are certain consulates right now, US consulates, that are not processing anything because of where they are in the world and what's happening in the world around those consulates. So that could be the issue. I don't know. It could be that consulate is inundated with 10,000 other things, and maybe they have put processing K1 visas on hold for a month or two. I don't know. So it really kind of depends on what country it is. What country you're in. I don't know. So what to do would be a consult question for me. And I would really dig in and ask you some more questions about what's happened with your specific case. Here's another good question, which you're not gonna like my answer to. Hi, my son has been waiting for his wife's interview for an I-130 in Djibouti. How long? I have no idea. So I-130s, so here's the deal with processing times. I don't know processing times. Every single solitary time, one of my clients asks me for a processing time, or we affirmatively give them a processing time, we have to look it up. Processing times depend on the type of application and where the application is being processed and the workload of that office. So consulates they generally don't tell us how long they are taking to process their cases. And that's because they have a much smaller staff in the consulates than CIS does here in the States. So the short answer to your question is I don't know. That is the short answer. What I will say, though, is that there are some consulates, and I'm not sure if Djibouti is one of them. I think that's probably going to be one of the smaller ones. So I don't know that this is going to apply to you, but it may apply to somebody else. There are some consulates, US consulates, that have Facebook pages, y'all. They have Twitter, now X feeds, right? And they are good sources of information. So I know some people don't necessarily want to get their information from there, but that information, and make sure you're on their verified pages, but they're giving you information essentially straight from the horse's mouth. And some of those consulates are super active on their Facebook pages. So that's just also something to think about. But I don't know how long it's going to take you to get an interview in Djibouti. Extension of my green card. I have a 24-month extension of my green card. How long for my citizenship? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. What I would say, though, is go onto the USCIS website and check the processing times for your U.S. citizenship application. The 24-month extension on your green card, I believe you should have received as language that came in your naturalization application receipt notice, extending your physical green card for 24 months. I do not know processing times off the top of my head, y'all. There are way too many applications and too many offices, thus too many combinations of what the processing time is. So I don't know. Let me see here. But what you can do, you can if you haven't done so, sign up for my USCIS account. And you can track the USCIS will then give you updates on your account right then and there. So that's always helpful for people. Does my affidavit have to be notarized? Depends on what kind of affidavit we're talking about. I have no idea. You got to tell me more about the affidavit that you're sending in. If you are, hold on, I got my scrolling all messed up. Yo, y'all, I said I was going to make dinner, and y'all like came out with 1,000 questions. If you have a run-in with the law, can you apply for citizenship? Mo, that is a fantastic question. And my answer for you is I don't know. It very much depends on what is in your criminal background history. I do not ever recommend folks that have a criminal background history, no matter how minor they think it is, to file anything with the Immigration Service without an attorney on their file helping them. I don't recommend that at all. What you may think is not a big deal, what you may think is a misdemeanor, may be a pretty big deal in the immigration world. So the short answer to your question is I do not know. But you can certainly schedule a consultation. We can talk about it. And we can see where to go from there. Color Bling, I love that name. Wants to know if I take payment plans. I do in certain circumstances. So if you need a payment plan, feel free to reach out to our office. We can set up a consultation, talk about your case, and then we can talk about fees as well during the consultation. And then we'll see what we can see in terms of payment plans. I just sent my medical RFE for the 485. The I-130 is approved with the interview. What should I expect? You should expect to wait. Which again, I know that nobody wants to hear. But yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. Immigration is a lot of hurry up and wait. I know no one wants to hear that, and I get it, but it is a lot of hurry up and wait. So that is one of the reasons why I like to go live, so that you all can hear it from an attorney, hear it from someone who's worked inside the immigration agency. It is a lot of hurry up and wait, and that sucks. Like it does, right? My clients wait. Like I don't have a silver bullet in some cases to, make things go faster. If you have an employment-based case, we can certainly look at expedited premium processing. Of course, there's a fee. The government, of course, charges a fee for that. But immigration is a lot of hurry up and wait. So if you have had your I-130 was approved, what I don't understand is why you had an interview. Oh, maybe you're saying you had your I-130 interview. They probably also did your 45 interview. The only thing they were missing, if the only thing they're missing is your medical, you're probably looking at a decision coming, fairly soon. Sometimes it takes me a couple weeks if all they want is the medical. Sometimes it takes a couple months after we send that in. So it really just depends. I can, there's no guarantee, but generally if you've already had an interview and then they're asking for your medical, I mean, you may be looking at an approval coming fairly soon. But you don't know until you actually get that piece of paper in the mail. So unfortunately, you're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. And again, I understand that no one likes waiting. I am so impatient; it is ridiculous. And I would love all my clients' cases to be approved like super speedy, but that's just not how the immigration service works. So your case, Neri, it looks like your case is being handled in the Middle East and there's a war. Yes, they probably are not processing your case right now. They're probably not processing anything right now. So it may be, you may have a case for getting your file transferred to another consulate. But that is definitely a consultation question. So we can kind of go a little bit more in depth. I've been waiting for 11 months for an interview for Islamabad, Pakistan. Should I be worried or wait? Um, I don't know what kind of case. So I don't know if 11 months is a long time. Sorry. So I don't know if 11 months is a long time. Um, my cases normally, my green card cases normally do not take 11 months. But again, I don't know if that's a long time. I don't know if that is 11 months and you have been going back and forth with NVC. I don't know what that 11 months looks like. So I can't tell you whether that's like a long period of time or not. That is more of a consultation question. So I'd have to see what that 11 months looks like, what's happened in that 11 months. My status says 3 weeks and automatically goes back to 2 months. This is the third time. Why? I'm assuming you're talking about in your My USCIS account. The answer why is because processing times are fluid. They change often. Again, something I know that people don't like to hear. But just because the Immigration Service says, in your My USCIS account, 3 weeks, 2 months, 6 months, 5 months, it is an approximation. It is an estimate. They are not going to process your case in 3 weeks to the day. Like it's just not going to happen. So why? Because it is a slower time of year. At the end of the year, immigration officers have use or lose time, which, trust me when I tell you, they're going to use it. Because when I was in the agency, I used my use or lose time, right? They are people. They are just like us. They want to spend time with their families. And that means when they're not at work, the work on their desk is still sitting there, right? So processing times typically tend to slow down this time of year anyway. So that is probably why you're looking at 3 weeks to 2 months. In the immigration world, 3 weeks to 2 months is not a ton of time, y'all. I'm not one of those immigration attorneys who's going to tell you to start screaming and yelling at CIS from 3 weeks to 2 months for a 2 months wait time. That's just not my MO. So yes, I think we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer. Once you go outside of your processing times, then that is certainly something that is no fun for anybody. And that, barring any sort of emergency, is when I think it's a good idea to start asking them what's going on. Do I need a job letter when I'm filing an I-130 for my dad? He's already here in the US. I don't know what you mean by a job letter. Like why you're filing an I-130? I don't know if you're talking about your affidavit of support. You are going to need to show that you meet the affidavit of support and the income requirements. If one of the ways that you have to meet that is to get a letter from your employer that states your wage, by all means. By all means. Can someone get a green card through marriage if they came illegally and is a parolee? That is a consultation question. That your question, without you knowing it, has so many layers. So is it faster to get your citizenship when you're married? Yes. Citizenship. If you are married to a U.S. citizen at the time of your application, you only have to wait 3 years after getting your permanent residence. If you are not married to a U.S. citizen at the time of your filing, then you need to wait 5 years. So yes, it is quicker. You can file sooner if you're married to a U.S. citizen. And the processing times right now, at least where I do a fair amount of citizenship work, which is in South Florida, are actually running pretty quickly. Should I file a mandamus lawsuit after 1 year of administrative processing for a family-based visa? I have no idea. That is a huge consultation question. I don't know what's happened in that year. I don't know what was in the application. I don't know if, I have no idea. I have no idea what the circumstances are. Administrative processing is a tricky animal. So that really needs to look at the facts and look at the facts very, very closely. And then there are things I might do before I immediately jump to a lawsuit. So that is a consultation question. Let me see if there are more questions. Let's see here. I don't see any questions over. I'm just checking Instagram, Facebook group, YouTube, and TikTok. Let me see here, y'all. One last question here. How long after I file an I-360 for SIJ have you received notification? I have no idea. My practice does not handle SIJ cases, so I'm not the right immigration attorney to help you with that, unfortunately. But that is also a processing times issue, so I don't know. If you don't get paroled into the U.S. after getting married, how long do you have to stay outside the country? I'm not sure why you would get paroled in after you got married. I'm not sure I understand your question. I'm not sure why you would get paroled in after you got married, and as opposed to just applying for a green card through marriage. So, y'all, I'm going to go and have my dinner because I don't see any more questions. So, as always, it has been super fun chatting with you. Let me check my calendar real quick. I will be live again tomorrow night. Make sure I put on my calendar so I don't forget. So I'll be live again tomorrow night. It has been fun as always. I will answer that one question, but give me 1 second. It has been fun as always. I'm Carol Williams with Williams Immigration, located in sunny South Florida. I work with clients all over the country, all 50 states, and Washington, D.C. And internationally, I'm a former USCIS Adjudications Officer. So that was a fun time. And the last question I'm going to work with or answer is any recent immigration news from the White House. So this didn't particularly come from the White House, but the H-1B, if you follow employment-based immigration at all, is it's a big thing. Every year, there are only 85,000 new H-1B applications allowed every fiscal year, I should say. And so we just finished up 2024 fiscal year, and we're about to move into the 2025 fiscal year. So that is kind of our big news. Again, but that's not coming from the White House. It's coming from USCIS. I don't have anything huge, honestly, coming from the White House at the moment. Certainly haven't seen anything in my feed today, although I was on a fair amount of calls today. So I will keep that question in mind for tomorrow evening when we chat. Alamina, you are always welcome to come back tomorrow night if there's something coming out of the White House that I think you guys will want to know about. I will certainly let you know. I try to start my lives with something that is timely. If y'all are interested in more employment-based immigration updates, I also go live Monday mornings on my LinkedIn page to talk about that. But I have been kind of on calls all day, Almina, so I will double check what may have come out of the White House today after I eat my dinner. And if there is something super cool, I will let you guys know tomorrow. How does that work? So I will see you all tomorrow evening. If you have further questions, you want to work with the firm, I think my team is pretty awesome. They make me look really, really good behind the scenes. So I want to be mindful to shout them out because they are really quite amazing. And I love working with them. What time tomorrow? Oh, pinning me down for a time. I'm not even mad at that. I will probably try to go live tomorrow starting at 6. That is not a guarantee though. End of day is kind of rough, especially if I have some last minute client calls that I have to make towards the end of the day. But my goal will be to go live tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel around 6 o'clock. So thanks for hanging out, guys. It is always, always, always fun. I'll be back again tomorrow. Feel free to come back with more questions. And in the next couple days, I'm going to drop a video about checking your processing times. I think that will give you guys just a sense of ownership, just a sense that you're not sort of floating out there by yourselves when it comes to your cases, especially if you have filed without an attorney, or even if you have filed with an attorney, or especially if you filed with a form filler. Want to make sure that you have sense of ownership and knowledge about the processing times. So I will chat with y'all again tomorrow. Bye, everybody. See here.